And doing it sooner rather than later can make it so much not only easier, but more effective and much more likely for it to go the way you hope it goes and the way your beneficiaries might like it to go.
Hi there, and welcome back to the Trust Exchange podcast series, proudly presented by Norway Savings Asset Management Group. And without further ado, we're going to go around the table and say hello to everyone.
Hey, Norm, thank you. I'm Brian Bernier. I'm a certified financial planner and investment officer. I've been with Norway Savings Bank for 27 years, working in the asset management group for 12 years.
I'm Keysha Wright, and I am a trust officer and relationship manager, and I've been with Norway Savings Bank since 2019.
Okay, today's topic of this podcast is your investment and your estate plan. So how do we marry the two together? How do we merge them together to make it so we simplify it?
Yeah. So a lot of our clients come to us as the result of maybe a job change, and they have a 401k that they want to roll out to an IRA, or maybe they sold a piece of real estate and they have money to invest. But they're still working and, life's still going on. They're not really thinking long term at this point, at least estate planning. And working with them over time as fiduciaries, we're always talking to them about long term. So estate planning is always a piece of it. And it's not uncommon for folks to not have a will in place when they start working with us, to really have done no legwork for that yet. So we're going to talk about that with them, encourage them to get wills in place, power of attorneys in place, things like that. And over time, what happens is eventually these folks do retire. Maybe they sell their business. Maybe they retire from their jobs, their careers. And at that point, now they're really starting to think longer term, and they're starting to think, what am I going to do for retirement? How am I going to live my life? How are we going to live our life? There's, a couple, and what's going to happen after when we pass? And having that estate plan in place is really important. And doing it sooner rather than later can make it so much not only easier, but more effective and much more likely for it to go the way you hope it goes and the way your beneficiaries might like it to go.
So there's a simple way that sometimes I'll describe what we can do. A lot of our clients will start off as an investment client, and we offer, a great estate planning products and different advice. And so if you look at, sometimes people see investments and estate planning as two separate paths. If more likely they're like two cars on the same road. One is going to grow your wealth, and the other, estate planning, is going to protect it. So if you want to protect your wealth properly, it's, there are ways that you can do that strategically.
So let's move along to long-term wealth transfer and oversight here. And one of the big topics right now is going from an IRA to a Roth IRA.
Yeah, that's a really common question we get today is, should I convert to a Roth? So what's happening today is you've got, especially here in Maine, we have an older population. We have people who are retiring. They have large 401k balances, and they probably have IRA money outside as well. So all, when you look at it collectively, they have a lot of retirement money, a lot of pre-tax money. They're thinking long term about what happens to this money eventually, and they ask us about required distributions and what happens when I have to start taking this money out. And then it leads to the next question. Well, when I leave this money to my kids, then what happens? And the answer is, if it's in a 401k or a traditional IRA, today's laws, the kids are going to have to take the money out. They're going to have to liquidate all of that over a 10-year period. And if you think about these people now, the folks that are retiring now, when they pass, it's very likely that their kids who are going to inherit these IRAs are going to be 40s, 50 in their 50s, and looking at probably in their highest earning time of their career. And now suddenly they have to start taking these required distributions from their parents' IRAs that they inherited. It's just going to add up to even more taxes to them, and that can be painful to the kids. So what you're looking at when you're converting to a Roth, which is something you absolutely want to work with your accountant on, your CPA. You want to make sure that you're doing this correctly. Certified financial planner will certainly work with you on this, and we always want ultimately your accountant to make sure it's going the way you want it to go from a tax perspective. But you're getting the money out of that pre-tax IRA and into an after-tax Roth Roth where it can grow tax-free, and then whether you're taking it out, if it's your own Roth, or your kids are taking it when they inherit it, it comes out tax and penalty-free, so that they don't have to get hit with more income taxes at that time in their life. So it's a really powerful tool to do. It's not for everybody. It doesn't always work to the best advantage, but it's something to definitely bring up with your advisor and your accountant.
Are you noticing that as a theme right now as well, too, Keysha, in your dealings with clients?
I am, absolutely. I think it's always good to have these conversations. Some clients might not be ready at that time, but in a few years they could be. So making sure we're transparent about what options they have and encouraging them to reach out to their CPA to kind of have those conversations early on is always a good idea.
So a lot of the theme of this podcast series is dealing with you as a fiduciary. So the advantages of working with you both and Norway Savings with the asset management group here for this particular merge here is what?
Yeah. So when you're thinking long term, you're thinking about your assets, and you know that you have a fiduciary, you have us working for you, helping manage the money for the long term. Things that we're thinking about are not focused on what these moves, whether it's a Roth conversion or maybe it's changing an allocation because you're at a point maybe you want less risk, less volatility in a portfolio. We're not thinking about what does that do for us or for our company, our organization, for Norway. What we're thinking about is what does that do for you? What does that help you meet your financial goals? Does that help you maybe stretch those assets longer? And does it help you transition those to your beneficiaries, to your kids, to your heirs? We're looking at that, and that's what we're talking to our clients about, whether we're meeting with them once a year, a few times a year, talking to them throughout. If this is something they're thinking about, if they're thinking about making any change to their portfolio, maybe somebody said, hey, you should ask your advisor about a Roth conversion. Or maybe somebody said, geez, at your age, you shouldn't have any stocks. Well, they're going to call, and then we'll start talking about that and go over their allocation with them. And it's always coming from the position of, is that the best thing for the client and for the clients, for their estate plan and their beneficiaries?
In a sense, Keysha, this is reinforcing a holistic advisory approach from your perspective, right?
Absolutely. I think as a fiduciary, we provide or can provide some added protection for our clients as well. I know there's certain situations where we would have a client and they are being taken advantage of because they've inherited a bunch of money because a spouse passes, and we can kind of step in to have those hard conversations with them and let them know there are things and options out there for you to be able to protect yourself, or maybe not tell everybody what's going on. I think that's part of the job, is really being able to have long-term conversations and also the hard conversations, and then getting to know what assets they have and the family members, and kind of looking at them, their whole picture, and how it all kind of the puzzle pieces fit together.
So what are the steps in terms of introduction for a client to come in and to discuss this with you?
Yeah, really, it's really a conversation trying to learn. The more we know about the client, the more we know about them financially, the more we know about their family, the more we can understand, the better decisions we can make, because then we're making decisions that really are going to be the most positive impact to them. So as we're looking at that, I'll tell you this, it's so rewarding when you're working with a client. Maybe you started working with them while they were working. They had a job change, so they rolled a 401k to an IRA, and that's when we met them and we started working with them. And over time, we got them to get their wills updated, maybe get power of attorneys in place. And now they're at a point in their life where someone's sick, maybe it's a couple and one of them is sick. So they're thinking, okay, how are we going to protect assets? What are we going to do? As fiduciaries, as a trust department, we can help get them on that path of, is this the right time to consider a trust? And if so, connect them with an attorney who will help them, help them get that trust put together so that it's going to do what it needs to do for them. And it's really that constant communication. You find you're talking to these folks. We always say it's a very personal relationship. You know your clients so well, and you really care about them, and you want to do what you think is best for them, and you're talking to them about that. This is what we're recommending, and this is why. And then it's very, very rewarding.
It's something that our department, I think especially, is really good at, is seeing that they are people that we are helping versus numbers on a page. We really care, and we will strive to do our best in every aspect for them.
Okay, final thoughts on this, Brian.
That long-term view can be hard to do, especially when you're not there, when you're still working, life's busy, you're doing a lot. Working with a fiduciary, an advisor like our group, we're always looking out for your best interest, and working with someone like that is really important because we're going to help you get the pieces in place so that when you are retired and maybe health is failing, maybe you just want to be really busy doing fun things, you're not starting from the very beginning at that point. We've been working with you and getting things put together. So communication with your family and starting sooner rather than later is just so important.
I would say think about the legacy you want to leave behind. Think about what you can do to make your lives of your loved ones easier.
Thank you to our panel once again, and thanks for tuning into this Trust Exchange podcast series we've been watching here over the last couple of episodes, proudly sponsored by Norway Savings Asset Management Group. Be sure to reach out for any further questions to anybody on their great staff.